We almost bought this property, and honestly, it could have been one of the biggest mistakes we've ever made. At first, the deal actually looked pretty solid, decent location, decent numbers, and the seller seemed at least partially motivated. But once we started negotiating and digging deep into the property, things got ugly fast. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why we walked away from this deal and why buying the wrong kind of rental property can actually destroy your cash flow. So let's get into it. This is the property right here. It is no longer on the market. It actually sold earlier this year. Sold for $7,500. 3-bed, 1-bath home. It does not have the square footage listed. I believe it's around 1,000 square foot, but I'm not positive about that because I never saw the selling agent never disclosed the actual size of the house. It's on West Akron in the general vicinity of one of my other properties. And let's get into the pictures here. So this is one where, again, if you're looking at the right things, you can tell a lot from the property before even walking it. This one we did walk, and we were in the process of negotiating. The negotiations were kind of seemed promising at first, but then came to a stop. I'll get into more of that in the greater detail in the and towards the later on in the video. But it ultimately did not work out in our favor. So first of all, if you look at picture number 2, the carpet looks pretty dingy. Okay, and the carpet was in bad enough shape that really the carpet's going to need completely replaced from ground level to the top. Really, just the pictures look bad, but when you actually went in the property, it was worse. Another big red flag when houses are done up nice and are in good shape, the lighting's going to be a lot better. When they're not in really good shape and they're trying to hide things, the lighting's going to be darker. It's harder to spot out all the flaws when the lighting is kind of dark. This may also indicate the seller's agent is just haphazardly taking the pictures. And again, if the seller's agent is haphazardly taking the pictures, why are they doing that? So item number 2, you can't tell perfectly from these images because it doesn't show a complete view of the kitchen, but the home was being sold without any appliances. And so it's going to be easier to get tenants in there if the appliances are furnished. You don't have to, but it's my understanding is that the tenants are you're going to attract a larger pool of tenants and potentially better tenants if the home has a stove and a fridge there. So right off the bat, carpet going to need to be replaced. Right off the bat, stove and fridge. Go down to the basement. Again, the pictures are kind of dark. The basement, as much as I can remember, didn't look too bad. There's a bunch of junk down there that needed to be removed, and the basement needed cleaned, but nothing of any substance beyond that. We didn't do a building inspection on this property because, again, the negotiations ended up falling apart. So I have no idea about the condition of the basement wall. That's another area where we've run into issues. Basement wall and foundation related issues can get extremely expensive really quick and absolutely destroy any type of return. So you've got to be very careful about that, particularly with these older homes. Again, going upstairs, the carpet looks dingy. There's, obviously that's going to need to be painted up. The bathroom wasn't in horrible shape. It wasn't in spectacular shape. The caulking around here needed to be redone. Caulking down here needed to be redone. Not super expensive, but also one more thing to do. Again, carpet's in bad shape. It's hard to see from the pictures, but most of the bedrooms and the entire downstairs needed to be repainted. Again, dark pictures right here. It's not really allowing you to see the as good a quality of an image of what the hallway is going to look like. And the first thing that comes to mind is something trying to be hidden. Down here was another problem. The property was being sold with these 2 vehicles that were not going to be removed from the owner. No titles were present, no keys were present. All 4 of these Tires were flat on this. I believe it was a Nissan. And in here was an older vehicle, I think like a 1980s era vehicle with no tires and no motor. And I don't believe there's a transmission in there anywhere there either. The issue we ran into here, I reached out to the county about getting a title, and we'd have to I forget what it was called. We'd have to apply for a lost title or something like that. It was going to be several $100s. It was going to take time. The hassle factor was honestly pretty high here because not only would we be out the cost of the title for the two vehicles, there's really not going to be any very much value in this vehicle here because there's no key. The tires are flat. The vehicle's going to need a lot of work to get it to move. And if we're going to junk it, we're going to have to pay for somebody to tow it to the junkyard. The scrap value of the vehicle was going to be less than the cost associated with actually getting it removed from the property. So that was a burden in terms of finances, but also in terms of time. You can't see it from here, but there's a window back here. There's a window frame, but no window back here. The garage door also does not function. The garage door is present, but does not go up and down. So there were a lot of issues here. With this property, it was originally listed for $94,900. When we were in the process of negotiating with them, they wouldn't go down. They eventually did go down, but at this point in time, December, around Christmas time, we had moved on from the property. Where we ended with them, I think, was around 85. And honestly, I didn't think the property was worth that, to be honest, with all the hassles and headaches associated with it. We didn't do a building inspection. From my estimations, it was going to need, with the appliances, the carpet, the cars to get rid of, paint, new garage door motor, new window, around $9,000 to $10,000 worth of input and repairs. The raw cash on cash returns were going to be too low. I think they were going to be around 13 to 14%, depending upon the estimations of my repairs, and the estimations were. I wasn't positive that these were hard estimation, or these estimations were. I didn't have a lot of faith that these estimations were going to be very, very, very accurate. Ultimately, at the time that we were working with the seller, he would not budge below, I believe it was 8,500. The math didn't work on our end. We walked away. Now, clearly, the guy clearly eventually did move down to this number. At this number, obviously, at 7,500, the math works better. However, the hassle factor is still going to be there. There was a lot of input that needed to be done. I personally didn't want to fool with the hassle associated with figuring out the titles for the vehicles in the back of the property, getting them out. Wasn't worth it to me, so we moved on because of that. And you've got to take that into consideration with some of these deals. This is obviously a very unique problem. I've never seen anything like that. Neither had my agent. Very frustrating overall because the neighborhood really wasn't that bad. The neighborhood, or the houses in the neighborhood, appeared to be fairly well kept up. Not bad for a West Akron home. A few other things that you can see from the outside. The gutters are sagging a little bit right here. There is a hole in the vinyl siding here. There's a hole in these the trellis right here. This wood here was disconnected, needed to be shored back up. Minor things there, but again, nonetheless, those are things that you can view based on looking at the street image from Google Maps. So everybody's got their own opinion about what kind of numbers they need. 13 to 14%, given all the work that needed to be done, wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth my time. Okay, I didn't think that was going to represent good value because it would take a lot to get that one rent ready. So that was just my personal experience with it. Good neighborhood, relatively good house, but too much money and too much time needed to be put into it. So walked away from it, and I think for us that was a fantastic decision. If you've got other thoughts, if you disagree, make a comment, let me know. But that's what we did, and I think it was a good decision for us.